Hey, what's up guys? BJ Dell back with a new Wednesday weekly art challenge video. This last week's word was fairy, so let's see what you guys came up with. Alright guys, so let's go ahead and jump into today's video. Like I said, last week's word was fairy and had so many awesome submissions once again for another week. Like I've said before, I really wish we had time to show all of them, but usually what I do, just pick 5. I don't necessarily pick the 5 best or the 5 that need the most work or anything like that. I just pick the 5 that I see something that stands out that can be kind of a teaching tool that you might then be able to incorporate over into your own work. So hopefully these 5 examples are definitely a tool that you can use in your own creations. And the first one up this week is Kimberly. And Kimberly said she didn't have time to do the whole fairy, just got to the wings. And that's okay because these look fantastic. And I'm not sure if the camera will pick up all the intricate details of this. So if you haven't yet, hop on over and join Keep Creating on Facebook and check these out because these things are just absolutely fantastic. They've got a really nice 3-dimensional look to them. The way that she did this here, these interiors of the wings, these sections, she added a shadow on this right edge of these in between here, and you can see when you pull out then it really gives this a nice embossed look, so it has a very 3-dimensional quality to it that works really well. I just like the stippling effect here that she used for adding the shading, and it really, like I said, has a very realistic look to it, and it has that embossed 3-dimensional look. This reminds me of something that you would see in a garden almost as decoration, maybe patio pavers type of thing, or something that you would see, you know, attached to a tree or, you know, a side of the house. It just really looks fantastic and it's so realistic. She's got these bigger dots in here that add quite a bit of character to the piece and almost makes it look kind of like an aging effect to it. It's weathered and it just looks really, really good. So I love seeing this one this week, Kimberly. So don't worry that you didn't get the whole body done. Just the wings alone were super fantastic. So just kind of take that for what it is and incorporate into your own work how she did that shadow. It's just really fantastic. So good job, Kimberly. Next up is Matt. And Matt's got this nice nighttime garden scene, and everything works really well on this. I love the expression on the face. I love the body shape and the arms. It's very, you know, elongated and spindly. This is one of my favorite things too of doing cartoons is you don't have to worry about, you know, making sure anatomy is perfect. Like I like how long and stretched out these arms are. It works well into that whole fantasy theme. So that's one of the cool things about cartoons. It does not have to be, you know, 100% anatomically correct. Stuff like this works out fantastic, and I love the direction he took it and just how far he went with it. The legs here with the big bony kneecaps are just so good. Of course, your eyes kind of drawn already because of the differences in colors and the contrast. The fairy itself stands out, but one of the other cool things that he did here was with these ferns. As you can see, these ferns come around and down into here, so these are definitely drawing you into the focal point of the fairy, which is, you know, the main centerpiece of the design, which is really cool. So yeah, using, you know, other background elements like this to incorporate that focal point is really a good idea and a really wise design choice. And I like the ferns. I like that the foreground ones, you know, he went detailed and had the individual pieces here and, you know, had the outlines. But then in the background, number one, he did the blurred effect in the background to make them look out of focus, gives it a depth of field, which is really nice. And then I like using the gradient here where he went from darker to lighter up the ferns. The wings done really well too with the opacity. I really like that. I like here how they go over top of the ferns, so you can definitely tell that they are opaque and they are see-through. The one thing I would have done probably up here is, I know it overlaps here and you can see the fern here, the tendril of the vine here, and you've got 1 star here. I probably would have added a few more stars back in here, just because it's so apparent down here that you've got the opacity there. I would probably have just thrown a couple more stars in there just to show it up there with those top wings too. But just a really good job. The moon up here is really well done. This was actually something that I was talking about in last week's video, I believe it was, with Monster, and Amy had done the moon and wasn't sure about, you know, how to get things to look right. And I had talked about, you know, not using the outline on there, and this definitely is the way that you can do that. And I'm going to actually talk about that more with one of the other pieces from this week. So fantastic job, Matt. Love seeing it, and welcome to the group. Next one up is Elvin, and Elvin's stuff is fantastic. Fantastic week in and week out. I love seeing Elvin's submissions to the group, and this one is definitely super cool. Got the fairy in the center here, with the wings coming out here and the fairies off to the side. I believe they're fairies, but and then the mushrooms tie everything in with the fairy theme. And the one thing here I wanted to talk about is, so looking at this piece, you've got a very almost symmetrical piece. You know, he's got the head in the center with the wings on each side. You've got the 2 purple characters on each side. You've got mushrooms on each side, the grass, so on and so forth. One trap that's easy to fall in here would just be to use the symmetry tool and do the entire piece symmetrical, which would work. But what Elvin did here was, he's got a very symmetrical piece, but because he went in and didn't use the symmetry tool, you know, each side is different. So if you look, you know, here with this wing coming up here and it comes down, and this one kind of wraps around and in. Same thing with the purple characters here. They're in different, you know, poses. Mushrooms too. This would have been easy to, you know, just do a mushroom here symmetrical, and then you've got your work done already on this side. And it just makes it more interesting for the viewer if you don't go in and use 100% symmetry. If you're doing a project that is time sensitive, or let's say it's actually a commission piece that, you know, you had to work with the client on and had to cut down in price, you know, doing something like this might be the way to give a client a better price by using the symmetry tool. But doing something like this where you didn't use it, I would charge more for this. So that's one of the things I wanted to bring up with this, just showing you can have a nice, almost symmetrical looking piece, but it makes it so much more interesting if you have, you know, everything varied to where it's not the exact same thing on each side. So this was an absolutely fantastic job. So thanks for sharing this week, Elvin. Love seeing the stuff. Next up is Stephanie W, and she did a cute little tooth fairy tooth. Absolutely love this. Color choice is really good. I know on previous videos I've talked about, you know, changing your actual outline colors instead of going super hardcore black all the time. This is an example of why it works. So you've got a really cute, adorable piece going, you know, with a hard black outline would make it look a little bit too contrasty, I guess. So what Stephanie did here, used more of a gray for the outlines and the eyes. And I think that works really well. It's not, you know, that hard contrast, and it softens up the entire piece. When you do pieces like this, you're really more thinking about, you know, who's going to be buying it, if it's a product, or, you know, just the overall feel and the overall atmosphere, nature, you know, of the piece. And going with these, you know, kind of more subdued outlines really works well to create that mood for this piece. I really like the colors that she used too for the wings, and then the bouquet effect here is really well done. It definitely adds more to the piece. If she just stopped with the tooth, it would have been good, but this really works well, and I like how she pulled it across so it's, you know, horizontal. This one was a little bit more streamlined and cut off. I added in some gray up here just so it would fit on the screen. But it had a very, you know, wide angle look to it, and I really like the bouquet effect here with those little glimmers, and it just works really well. That ties in the whole, you know, fairy part of it, the magical, whimsy, what have you, and I think it is just really well done. So you know, a couple pieces to pull off here, like I said, is the outlines, and then just, you know, little stuff like this really adds to the piece and draws the viewer's interest in. So fantastic job, Stephanie. And then finally, last but not least, is Christine's. And Christine did this fairy, which, you know, is a ball of light with the wings. And this one looks really great as far as the wings go. How the wings are done here. Let me pull it up further so you can see. So the ball of light itself is this kind of yellowish glow to it. And when you pull it out, it looks like the wings are glowing just because how she did the lines in the wings. Here you can see the yellow is really saturated in this part. She uses a lot of yellow and then fades it out. Doesn't use as much here, and then just uses the white, and then also doesn't use as many white lines up here. So it has a very thin, airy look to it. So without, you know, having another background and things behind it, so you can see that the wings have, you know, a see-through opacity to them, it still gives that effect. And I just love how she used those lines. It's just really fantastic. You know, how she faded that out and gave that appearance to these. So the other thing she had said she thought about doing, but didn't, was to give a glow around here, because she didn't want to blur that line around here. So I understand, you know, wanting it to be a perfect ball of light, you want that sharp outer edge, but I think a glow would have worked. So that's what I was talking about earlier. Let's go back to Matt's here and see how Matt did the moon here. So Matt still has this hard edge around the moon, but he's got that nice glow to it too. So I think that would have actually worked in Christine's. To do that, it's fairly simple here. And I know I've talked about it before, like I said in last week's, but I don't think I really showed. So let's go back to Christine's. I'm going to pull up this color. And this is a really a simple, easy thing to do. Let's just go ahead and draw a circle. Like I said, when I draw my circles, I tend to use my finger, just because you don't have that overlap when it meets. So let's do that. And then if you're drawing, I don't know if I've talked about this before, if you're drawing a circle and want it to be perfect, if you hold down your finger once you make the connection and then hold down your other finger, it's going to snap that into a perfect circle. Let's do that. And let's drop, well, actually, let's undo that. I need to do another layer. So let's do this layer on top. Snap this in to a circle. Fill that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate that circle. So you've got two circles now, same color. We're going to go down to that bottom circle, and we're going to go up to our adjustments menu up here, and we're going to go to Gaussian blur, and then just slide this, and you'll see that that's got that nice glow around it. You don't lose that hard edge, which I'm assuming that's why that you didn't do it and you wanted to keep that hard edge. So you don't lose that hard edge, but you get that nice uniform glow. It's a lot easier doing it like this than using your pencil and trying to, you know, do maybe an airbrush around it. It's not going to look right. So if you just duplicate that layer, add that blur to it, it's going to give that nice glow. And then of course, this is using the exact same color, but if you wanted to go, you know, brighter, you could go with a solid white, or it just depends on the design choice that you made. So just wanted to throw that out there. But that was Christine's. Like I said, I absolutely loved the way these wings were done. Just so good. So those are the 5 for this week. All right, guys, that's it for today's video. As always, thanks for watching. I want to thank everyone that submitted designs this week too. Really appreciate it and love seeing everybody's fantastic work. If you haven't yet, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell for notifications so you can get alerted when I post new videos. So last week's word was fairy, and this week's art challenge word, actually I got inspired last week by Jay, who submitted the devil from Legend. So this week's word, it's going to be really fun. Your favorite movie villain. So this one's wide open. You can do so many different things with this. Are you going to go for an animated movie, so you've got an animated thing to draw, or are you going to go live action? So really excited to see what you guys come up with. What is your favorite movie villain of all time? This one should be pretty cool to see. Me personally, my favorite movie villain of all time, the Skeksis from The Dark Crystal. Absolutely love that movie. #1 favorite movie of all time for me. So I want to see what you guys can do. Make sure you join Keep Creating, a Learn, Draw, Share art community over on Facebook so you can post your designs and see what other people are doing too. The link is in the description below. As for me, I can be found online, bjdell.com, as well as on Instagram and Twitter at bjdell. So until next time, keep creating.